Okay, thanks for coming this morning. I think it's going to warm up and it won't be icy. Everybody will be in good shape. Or we just hunker down and eat chips. Hunter. Do y'all know what this is? It's a light bulb. More specifically, what kind of light bulb, for those that are watching in your pajamas at home? Incandescent. It's an incandescent light bulb. Okay. Do you know where you're living what kind of light bulbs are in all the fixtures wherever you're living? Do you know? You have fluorescent tubing. All of the lights are fluorescent tubes in your home where you're living? Interesting. Okay. Anyone else? You have one of these. Did you put it in? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you replace this?
I didn't replace any. Well,
you said you put it in.
Well, there was like one in each, but yeah, I replaced one.
You replaced incandescent with compact fluorescent tubes. So they have the same efficiency, Claire. But we've always had fluorescent tubing in industrial situations. Are some of you say, I have no idea? You have Macy, have no idea? Okay. Do you pay the electric bill?
Yes.
Anyone else? Does anyone know if they pay the electric bill? So some of you do, but you don't know what kind of bulbs are behind. You have some of these. Okay. Can you see what this is? It's a compact fluorescent tube that's inside to make it look like it's incandescent. But if you look closely, you'll see that the spiral is just inside that. Okay, so it's the same as this, but people that would see this and not really, they think it looks ugly. They think it looks like they're cheap, and so they would get this. Okay, and then another kind of bulb would be this one. And if you didn't know, you might have to look, but this is an LED bulb. Okay? Does anyone have LED bulbs in their home? Yes? Did you put them in? Okay. So these cost about how much a piece? Maybe $1. Okay. These cost about how much? Maybe more. The prices come down, but you can get them pretty cheap now. So some cases, maybe $1, maybe $2. These LEDs might cost up to $5. Okay, so they cost more. Okay. If we compared if we took a 75 watt incandescent bulb, it would cost about, if we ran it 5 hours a day, it would cost about $1.46 a month to light that bulb. Okay? An LED would be 11 cents. Okay? If you had, and this is probably where you live, you don't have this many, but people might have as many as 40 light bulbs in their house, depending. At my house, there are so many lamps. We have lamps to light our lamps. And anyway, and so they're always on because we want to create the illusion that it's daytime even when it's night. But anyway, so we might monthly, so if we had 40 of them, $58.40 versus $8.40. A difference of about $50 a month if you converted all your incandescent bulbs to LED bulbs. Over the course of a year, it would be a difference between about $700 and $100. You would save, if you had 40 light bulbs, my guess is for many of you, you don't have that many, but you would save. We can think of this or this as paying for themselves in about 2 months. Okay? And so this was a question, I think it was on chapter 6. How would you get people, even college students, to replace this with either this or this? It's already going to save you money, okay? And so for those of you that if you didn't pay your own electric bill, you would say it doesn't matter. As a college student, we didn't pay the power bill, and so my roommates, when it got too hot, they just opened, like on a day like today, they just opened the sliding glass door. And then sometimes they'd forget to shut it. And so like the next day, it's kind of chilly in here, but the heater's been going, 24 hours, but they forgot to shut that sliding glass door. Because there was no incentive because they didn't pay the bill. But so lots of landlords have found out that we're not going to pay that. We're going to encourage you to conserve, and so you're going to pay your own bill. I bought you a little time. How might you get people to adopt this innovation? What incentive could you offer them?
Coupons or purchase of.
Who would do that?
The manufacturers of.
Okay. It could be the people that make these. To get you to buy them, they could offer you money off the cost. Okay. Okay, what would keep you from buying either of these two in my right hand and replace anything in my left? Why wouldn't you do this?
Because the one on your left hand uses more energy and it's not as efficient as.
But why wouldn't you? Why, obviously you'd change if you'd save money, but why might you not do that?
If you didn't care.
Okay, if you didn't care, but
If you didn't care about the
if you didn't pay the cost. Okay, but for many of you in here, you do pay the cost. Okay, and so that's if you didn't, there's no incentive, no reason for me to save money. If Dad buys the gas or diesel in my truck, it doesn't matter that when I go 85, I get poorer mileage because somebody else is paying for that, right?
Disposing of the LED and the mercury and the.
Oh, now we're talking. There's a problem. There was a problem with these. There's a little mercury, and we can't just throw them in the garbage. There's a problem, and so that would be one. Is if I replace this with this, what do I do when it has to be replaced? Okay, is there anybody, change agent, who is it that might want you to change to this more efficient light bulb? But the manufacturer just sells light bulbs. So maybe not a manufacturer, but anyone else say, I think it would be good if you did this?
Environmentalist.
An environmentalist, okay. What's in it for them?
Less waste in the land disposal.
Oh, okay, these go in the trash. These last for 13 years. You save time. And so if we use less electricity, who's that good for, Ross?
The less electricity is always good for the electric company because they don't create so much electricity.
I thought you were going to say the environment. We're using natural gas or we're using coal to make electricity. If we don't have to use as much the environment, maybe we can save the world. Okay, possibly. Okay, so let's say the city of Stillwater found out about this and they'd say, we need to convince people if they use less electricity, they'll have more money in their pocket. We won't have to make as much electricity. That'll be good for us. What could they do to get you to adopt this innovation?
You could offer to take the other bulbs and give them a deal. If you bring your incandescent bulbs, they will give you this much.
We will trade that out. That's interesting. Bring me one of these and we will give you one of these. Who would pay for that? Well, who would? So the idea is if you bring one of these and we'll give this to you, but who is going to pay for the cost of this that we're going to give you?
Taxpayers, people that like using our own money.
Okay, so the city of Stillwater could just say we will use money that we collect from you to do this. What do you think of that? If it was up to you, would you do that? If you were the mayor, would you say, yes, this is how we're going to use your tax dollars. We are going to get you to adopt this innovation by giving you this if you trade in this? Well, yes or no? Yes, you're for it, or no, you're against it. Which is it?
I'd do it.
If you were mayor, you would say, I'm for that. Okay, how many? How many can I exchange?
As many as you have in the house.
Okay, you're willing to. As many as you have, I'm going to do. Okay? Remember that when we have incentives, the quantity of the adoption goes up, but the quality goes down, or may not go up as much. Okay, so keeping that in mind, now every time, I don't buy these because the mayor of Pam is going to just give it to us. Why would I go out and buy them? She's just going to give them to me. And if I drop them on the way out, no big deal. I'll just go and I might take and sell them because she's giving them to me. I'll go to a neighboring town and I'll set up along the road and I'll say, I'm selling these for $1 each, which is half as much regular because she's giving them to me.
Okay, the mayor changes her mind.
Okay, and now you'd say, how many are you? Can I?
Yeah, we would have to set a limit, say 5 per household.
If this is the case, if the savings are that dramatic, how many do we have to exchange for you? 1. And we don't even know, we don't have to change. We'll just hand them out. Bring in your power bill, whatever. We will give everybody one of these. Maybe. You don't have to do too much. You just want to, remember, you just want to get it going. Okay? What's the biggest disadvantage of these other than cost? Anybody know? They don't last as long. You're always changing them. Penny, when her dad came to town, always changed all his light bulbs. He's like 6'6". He didn't need a ladder. But still, she had, like, when we sold her house, when we got married, there were, like, half of the light bulbs were burned out in the house because she just didn't want to do it. And Dad hadn't been there in a while. They burn out all the time. And she had all these kind, even though that was 7, 8, 10 years ago. These were still available. She hadn't adopted this innovation. These create heat. Okay, these aren't near as hot. Is there any problem, Caleb? Any problem with this creating heat? A light bulb that creates heat? Well, yes, there is always that. Yes, or if then you go get a wet towel and you break it. Yes, so changing, I got to turn it off. And how do I exchange it if the light bulb is out? Anybody else? What's the problem with a light bulb that creates heat?
Well, if you have a lot of lights on, I mean, it gets the house hotter, and if it's like in the summer and you want it colder, you can hate it.
Yeah, you're going backwards. You've got all these light bulbs on because it's nighttime, but they're creating heat. You got the air conditioning cranked, and you're going against what you want to do. So that's a problem where light bulbs create heat. They might create enough heat that they could start a fire depending on what gets leaned up against them also.
Did that create that much heat to like heat up your house?
If you had in a room and you had 3 or 4 75-watt light bulbs, it would make considerable difference. Did anyone ever have an easy bake oven? Yes. How did it bake? There was simply a light bulb in there, and it would bake this little thing of brownies. Okay, and so it created enough heat. Okay, and again, these fluorescent tubes don't create it near as much heat. It's not the most, savings is the best thing, but there are these problems with these that make us want to adopt that innovation. Okay. Let's talk about exam. So what I gave you are 8 possible essay questions. It doesn't really need to follow me. Do you have one? There's Okay, is there any you want to talk through?
How long do you want that to stay?
You need to answer the question. So it's not a short answer. They want complete sentences. I'm sure you'll have plenty of time, but you want to think through. For instance, if it was make that application, then I want you to a paragraph maybe enough. Any you're not sure about what it is.
Tell us about number 2.
Okay, number 2, how do change agents' actions widen the socioeconomic gap? Okay, anyone take a shot at that? Let's take this example of the compact fluorescent tube or the LED light bulb. The socioeconomic gap is the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Gage?
Some of the products that they're pushing, the people who are smaller and can't afford it, the rich can, and it saves them more money.
Okay,
Makes
so
them more efficient.
So to adopt an innovation, at least when innovations come out, they're usually more expensive. Those people that you want to adopt an innovation are the last to adopt. And so the example of the light bulbs are expensive. These are $1 or 50 cents, or I can go to Habitat and get them for $0.25. These might be a couple dollars, and these when they came out were maybe $15. But the savings, they pay for themselves right away. And so if I adopt this innovation, a year later I have more money than I would have had I not adopted that innovation. And so now if I'm a have, I have more. Any other innovation come to mind that would widen the socioeconomic gap? I adopt this innovation, and because I did, I have more money now. Natural gas, so a vehicle or natural gas in your home is more efficient, and so if I adopt that innovation sooner, I've got more money in the end versus your electric heat that you're using or your regular combustible car. Anything else come to mind? Hang on. Any other innovation that widens the socioeconomic gap? Maybe specifically within agriculture. The tomato harvester. I have the money to buy this tomato harvester. Now I don't have to have employees to harvest tomatoes. The rich get richer. Bigger farmers than the smaller farmers couldn't afford the tomato harvester, and so they were squeezed out. And so the rich got richer. So GPS technology. I don't have the 10% overlap when I apply chemicals or when I do tillage. And so just by using that technology, my profit should increase somewhere in there. And so because I was able to adopt it, or I heard about that innovation, the rich get richer and the poor stay the same or go backwards.
But how do the change agents' actions? Is it because of their promotion?
Well, the change agents, so Pam as a change agent is trying to convince people to adopt this innovation. And those that she gets to convince are going to have more money in their pocket. Remember, like earlier knowers, they have contact with change agent, and so she's not going to be able to reach everybody. But maybe she reaches 75%. Well, the gap widens because those 75 have that advantage and the 25% don't. If the innovation is of eating healthier, and exercise, then I don't spend time in the emergency room because I don't get sick as often. I don't have those medical bills. If the innovation is that of a contraceptive, okay, then I don't have 10 children, I just have 2. Okay? Think of all the money your parents would have if they didn't have to spend it on you. Okay? They'd be retired at 52, they'd be living in the Bahamas. But maybe not. When Penny watches those beachfront property shows, and it's like a couple that are like in their 30s and they're looking for a beach house, and they say, we could only spend like up to $700,000. And I say, where the hell did 30-year-olds get $700? Said, oh, they don't have any kids. I said, oh, okay, I know why. Okay. 7. What's your question? Well, give me a preventative innovation. Okay, sunscreen is a preventative innovation. I apply it so I don't get skin cancer. A condom would be a preventative innovation, which are available at the pharmacy over at the health center, which I'm kind of surprised to see that. When I was a graduate student at Texas A&M, we had a program called Peer Advisors, and they were a group of undergraduates, and they had an office, and they were there to provide advice to students. And right before spring break, Student Government Association had a spring break kit that they gave you. So things you might need on spring break. And there were things like deodorant and sunscreen, and there was a condom in there, or several. And the department had found out that our students were giving those out, and he went ballistic because he was sure that meant that was like telling them that it was okay to have sex. And I said, Dr. Brown, that's not going to really affect whether they do or not. The preventive innovation would be hopefully that next fall they're able to come back to school again. So as a preventive innovation, so why are preventive innovations harder to get people to adopt? Because the benefits, specifically the relative advantage, this thing that you get, is down the road. Okay. You don't get it right away. The light bulb is quick. If you said, oh, it's going to take a year for you to recoup those, like, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to be here after a year. I've only got a 9-month lease. But 2 months, say, every college student should adopt that innovation. The payoff, the relative advantage, is quick. Kylie, good? Other questions?
1.
Number 1. Okay. How are earlier knowers of innovations different? Yeah, there's like 18 ways that they're different. They have more social interaction. They have more contact with change agents. They have higher education, more social participation. There's a list of those are generalizations from one of those chapters. And again, you can't adopt if you don't know. And so earlier knowers are different. And remember that knowledge stage that's in there. First you got to know about it. Doesn't mean you're going to adopt, but y'all just being college students know more about innovations because you're just exposed to them. You're exposed to education and other people, and you're out of your cocoon. Any other ones you're not sure about what they are, what they mean?
Number 3.
Okay, what's your question?
Hold on. Think of what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Are you wanting both of them? How are both different? Or how are both important? Or how are they different?
And so within where we find out about innovations, the more cosmopolite we are, the more exposed we are. Okay, so in terms of mass media, media is where we might find innovations, and so if our sources of information are local. Last night, Penny and I watched the 5:30 news, CBS, and they covered everything from chicken shortage in Scotland to the more on the on Trump's tweets and more on the Florida shooting. And she said, why do we watch the 10 o'clock news? Because she hates the 10 o'clock news, because 10 o'clock news is all somebody in Guthrie's dog got out and barked at a neighbor's cat, and they sent a news crew out there to cover it. And she said, why are, and I said, well, I usually like to watch the weather and see what's going on, and then for the sports are terrible, so then we just go to bed. But it's just local stuff. It's not really of any interest. So if you're more cosmopolitan and you read the Wall Street Journal and Cosmopolitan magazine and these others, you're just exposed to a lot more than if all you watch is TV 31. Okay, so in terms of mass media, and then whether you're interpersonal or worldly, and again the best example we can use there is who do you go to for information? And if you remember that, we were talking about if I was disciplining a child, or whether I was going to learn French, or whether I was, just fill in the blank. What I want to know something. Okay, I'm going to buy a car. Okay, I got money. I'm going to buy a car, and I don't know what to do. Okay, if it's more interpersonal, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ask my family and friends. Okay, what would you suggest? Would you buy a Camry? Okay. And the wider range is I'm going to go to some unbiased views like Consumer Reports or Edmunds.com or Blue Book. I'm going to reach wider, and you'd say, well, I don't trust those people. Who I trust are people that I know. Huey Long, governor of Louisiana, when he was charged with nepotism, he said, what do you want me to hire people I don't know? Of course I hire family. Yeah, I want you to hire people you don't know. I think that'd be good. Frank Connery, my high school principal, hired, I can't think of the guy's name, he was the town drunk, he hired him to be janitor. And I said, Frank, what are you doing? He's drunk. And he said, yeah, but I know his problems. The other guys I might hire, I don't know. Okay. Wouldn't want to go out and advertise and just, take applications. So. Okay, any others you're not sure about what it is? I'll ask for those, and I won't ask something that's not here. The same as vocabulary. The vocabulary that you have, that's the vocabulary we're going to do matching. And so you should do very well. Everyone won't do very well, because I guess they don't trust me. But that's what we're going to do. Okay, any other questions? Okay.